Welcome to the GrayHawk DJC podcast. In today's podcast, we talk with Shell Black, president and founder of ShellBlack.com, a Salesforce consulting partner. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey, Shell, how you doing?
I'm good, David. Good to see you.
Yep, that's awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. I know we've been talking about this for a while, so I finally got a hold of you. And then we got our schedule right. But thank you again for coming.
Sure, my pleasure.
Welcome to the show. And so the way we usually start is we start with just tell us about yourself, where you're from, how you got started, any background that you want to share with us, and let the audience know who you are, I guess.
Sure. So Shell Black. I'm a Dallas native. Went to high school here, went to St. Mark's, and went to college at Hendrix in Arkansas, and then spent a year abroad in Oxford.
Okay.
And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What made you go to Oxford?
So I went to a really small liberal arts college,
okay.
And there's a lot of programs. And so if it's a small college, there's less people that apply for these programs.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe I'll have a shot. And the deal is you have to go over to England, and it's this traditional kind of one-on-one tutorial. It's not like a big classroom like we have. It's one-on-one. And there's a Don of English, I believe, at Green College that would coordinate your professors across the Oxford University, which is a conglomerate of a bunch of colleges. And you had to make sure when you applied that you could show that you would be able to come back and graduate on time and fulfill your classwork.
Okay.
So I applied, got accepted, and spent a year abroad.
Wow. What were you studying, I guess?
Political science was my major.
Okay.
Not that I do any of that today.
Sure.
I'm a political science major.
How was England? Any thoughts or memories from there?
I think that 1 year abroad in Oxford probably added up to 3 years of normal college, right? Just in terms of experience and what I learned, taking it seriously. I had a lot of fear going over there, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be coming home with the semester and have failed and embarrassed my family and stuff like that. So I think I actually studied more to overcompensate to make sure that I got some decent marks and grades.
Right.
And then after the first, it's a trimester, so it's like through Christmas to Easter, then Easter to the end of the year. So it's actually kind of a trimester system.
Okay. Are they accepting of Americans? How is that socially?
Well, like if you called to Oxford and said, "Hey, Shell Black there enrolled," they probably wouldn't know because I was through a program that was sponsored from through Green College. So you wouldn't have if you call Oxford University. Though we did have student passes to the student union, which was the cheapest place to buy beer in the whole thing as a student. So we had some of the benefits. But we weren't full students. So,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, spent a year over there, did that, came back. But yeah, it's traveled Europe with a backpack, a Let's Go Europe book, no phone, no Google.
Right.
URL passes over Christmas break and the Easter break. It was just hit the continent and go see
Anywhere exciting, different on the continent?
Maybe a little timely. I've been on both sides of East and West Berlin, Checkpoint Charlie, before the wall went down.
Seriously?
Yep. I remember as a student, I went with a bunch of Oxford students through city center protesting Tiananmen Square when that was happening. That was at that time. This is like 1989. And then I went to the Soviet Union, so Moscow. This is right during Perestroika and Gorbachev and opening up.
How difficult
markets.
was that for an American to get?
Not that hard.
Really?
Back then it wasn't that bad, actually. So I think maybe I had to get a passport visa. And I went with a bunch of high school students. And I just joined their tour.
Okay.
And went with them. But yeah, so I actually went to the Soviet Union back then. So
interesting.
I have a little bust of Lenin up in my office that you can see. It's
nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so after Oxford, what are you doing then?
I had applied to law school, got on a waiting list to Tulane, and then started working in the computer business. I worked for a software and computer retailer called CompUSA, and if you're from Dallas, they were corporate based here.
Right.
And it was great. It was a great ride. So from 1990 to 99. Longest I've worked for any company. But
what were you doing, by the way?
So I started off just on the Salesforce selling computers, and then worked my way up through all the departments, and got promoted to a store manager. I think it was a store manager at 26. So running, I think my first store was in Phoenix, kind of Glendale, Arizona, right outside of Phoenix. but you're pretty much a kid, 26 years old, running
Right.
a 30,000 square foot box, doing 36 million a year with 80 employees. And so a lot of management, how to read a P&L, manage your shrink, a lot of good experience. It is amazing how much they grew management at that. And then that was a cheap move because it was just a single guy in a 1-bedroom apartment. So
Right.
if they had a problem store, they wanted to open a store, they would just send me.
Were you just thrown to the fire, or would they have a grooming program? Or,
Yeah, they actually, a couple years in, they developed a kind of manager and training program.
Okay.
And I actually worked up to the part where I was one of the assessors for their store managers and would put people through the ringer on that. But yeah, they had a great program. It's a shame that they imploded, and they imploded after I left.
Right.
But just an amazing bunch of talented people came out of that group that I still keep in contact with today. So great organization.
Okay. So after CompUSA, what's going on then?
Still did retail operations. I thought going from the retail side to the OEM manufacturer side was the move, and got on with Gateway Computers for a couple years.
I remember Gateway.
Yeah, Gateway Country Stores. And so I managed a 23-store territory, did 100 flights in Southwest in 1 year, just flying out to California, flying back to cover my territory with them. And could see the writing on the wall that they were not going to make it.
Right.
And so I was trying to find the lifeboat before the music stopped.
Sure.
And so I was applying, and at that time, Kinko's had relocated from California to Dallas in the Galleria area. And it was hard to find a retailer that was based in Dallas. And so I was able to get a job there. I was a director of operations, ran a project management team that would just basically operationalize stuff that was rolled out to their 1,600 stores. Okay. So got on the corporate side for the first time instead of the field side. And was just kind of rocking and rolling there. And FedEx bought Kinko's and it became FedEx Office. And that was a response of the UPS store buying mailbox, et cetera, and all of a sudden getting, thousands of retail points. And FedEx was not going to have UPS beat them to the punch. Right. And so they found another retailer with 1,000, access points. And so then my job, because we rolled stuff out, was we rolled out shipping services to all the stores. So I was involved in that, and really impressed with the Memphis team, and that's a great organization. So it's good.
So how long were you at FedEx for then?
I want to say about 4 years. Okay. And honestly, that ended faster than I thought it was going to be. I got sideways with one of the vice presidents. I was kind of like the store advocate, and probably was a little too vocal on some kind of things and got myself in trouble, and got fired. Okay. So first time I've ever been fired in my life. But great organization. I can't say enough about them. So at that point, I was...
How old are you at this time?
Oh, gosh. Young 30s.
Okay. Married, anything?
Not
Still
yet.
single? Okay.
Nope, not yet. So maybe 33, 34, somewhere around there. And then one of my old bosses from CompUSA was starting a software consulting company and had a Salesforce practice. Okay. And that's when I got exposed to Salesforce. Okay. And I didn't know what he was talking. We literally went to Starbucks. He said, I know you. He was my regional manager. I was a store manager, and I've worked for him, I think, twice in my CompUSA career. Great guy, a guy named Blake Wolf, and one of my mentors. And he said, I need people. You want to do this? I'm like, I'll follow you. I mean, I have no problem. I know you. I know you're solid. I know you're a good leader. I'll do it.
We had no idea what Salesforce was.
No idea. I had never heard of it. I'd never seen the software. Okay. But I knew Blake, and he was enough for me to make that leap of faith and say, you know what? I am kind of tired of retail. Let me try consulting. Okay. Right? Let's do that. And learned Salesforce.com software. Did about 20 end customer projects. And back in the day, Salesforce would have these, and they still do, they have these 5-day admin classes where you can go and get kind of a crash course on how to be an admin. You go to class. Well, Salesforce was ramping so fast they couldn't get enough instructors, and so they were hitting their implementation partners. And long story short, I became a teacher. Became an instructor and started teaching the 5-day admin class, which is about, and if you can teach Salesforce, you really have to be good at it, right? You have to really skill up on that. So that's how I got really good at Salesforce in those early days, is because I had to learn it well enough to teach it. And then.
And just for the viewers, can you tell them what Salesforce is, I guess? Because I'm sure there's
Well, back then, it was a much simpler product.
Okay.
So Salesforce was founded in 1999. So we're talking 2005, 2006. So it's a 5-6-year-old software product at that point.
Okay.
Not the multi-billion-dollar, 50,000 employee behemoth that it is today.
Sure.
CRM, customer relationship management software. So it is a cloud-based access through your browser. You don't buy a server and install the software. You're accessing it over the internet. And customer relationship management is really a place to do your pipeline, your sales, your customer service, your marketing, and maybe some back office. And that's what it kind of did initially. Okay. Now, fast forward the tape, they've had many, many multi-million and billion-dollar acquisitions. Tableau, ExactTarget, Slack was a big one that just happened. MuleSoft. And so as they have expanded the product suite, they've also done acquisitions to make sure that they have kind of a solution for everything. So you want some e-commerce, you're in manufacturing, you need some high-end analytics, data visualization software, you want chat for collaboration, you want a more advanced marketing product like Marketing Cloud, which was the ExactTarget product and it was rebranded Marketing Cloud. So now it's this behemoth, right? It'll do just about anything. And now they have industry vertical solutions, and we'll talk about, I guess, a little bit later, but that's where we started spending us. As Salesforce got more serious with industry verticals, they came out with specialty products, other core product that's kind of pre-configured to help those industry verticals. So that's kind of pulling the clock ahead from 2005, but
sure.
But that's what's going on there. And then, so I was and that company was called Astadia. That was Blake's company. Great partner. Then I got a call out of the blue from actually an old high school buddy that had a finance company. And we got to talking. Actually, we ran into each other at a high school reunion, which was really odd for a job interview.
Sure.
And he said, well, what have you been doing? I said, well, I just spent, 10, 15 years doing store operations, and he had a lot of stores. And he's like, we need to talk. And next thing I know, I'm in his office, and he threw a number at me I couldn't refuse. So I was like, okay, sorry, Blake, I got to go over here and try this. Sure. And it was a good opportunity. I was really basically running project management, some strategy for the company. I had a small team of project managers, and we were rolling out initiatives and trying to incubate ideas, and that was really a lot of fun. Really try to make the business cases and try to pitch to senior leadership what we wanted to do. It was just a couple offices down from the CEO. They didn't have Salesforce, which was like going through withdrawal for me. And one of the projects that hit my desk, I just started thinking about it, and this would be an amazing use case for Salesforce. So I got a free developer account and spun that up, and I configured one weekend. I just mocked up everything over the weekend, and on a Monday I said, I want to show you something. And I fired up Salesforce in his office, and I did a demo of how this one problem that was, one project that hit our desk we could solve with Salesforce. And he was like, this is this damn Salesforce thing you keep telling me about. I'm like, yes it is. And we were a customer by that Friday. We did business case. They signed off on it, and we got Salesforce into that company. And I remember the account executive for Salesforce called me like, "Who are you? Like, where did this deal come from?" I go, "Well, I was a former consultant. I know what I'm doing." And so we built out quite a bit of functionality over the years, and that was great. And then new projects would hit my desk, and we kept kind of growing the footprint. And unfortunately, I think we started making the CEO there a little nervous because so much of the business was running in that, and I don't think he wanted to continue to make more investment and move more of his business units and business operations and business functions into Salesforce. I think it made him nervous.
Do you see that a lot though with other business owners?
I guess it depends. I think some of that mindset has changed a lot with cloud services over the years. Back then, people really liked servers and buying servers and hardware. So I think it made him a little nervous. And this kind of leads into how I got started we went into maintenance mode. So I knew we weren't going to make any more investment
Right.
in Salesforce. And I had spent, at this point, probably coming up on 5 years of really hardcore learning everything I could about it. Just for giggles, I went out when certifications came out and got 3 certifications. Like, okay, I'm as good as I think I am. I got certified. But I was really worried that I was going to get rusty, right? That I wasn't going to get access to the new products and stuff like that. So 2010, I started a website, which was just shellblack.com, which is the same website as my company is today. And it wasn't a business. It was simply my personal blog. And if you go through like the Google Wayback Machine, you can see this. It was literally like my blog,
Right.
where I was just putting articles out there of tips and tricks, things I had figured out, small tutorials, how I solved certain use cases. And I was just trying to get engaged with the Salesforce community. Twitter was just starting to be a thing. And people were saying, oh, I did this. I'm like, well, I've done some cool stuff too. I think I want to show people I've done some good stuff as well. What happened was, so I'll give you a kind of time marker. This is June 2010, right? So 12 years ago, roughly. So I launched the website, started putting things out there, and just was having fun. Really didn't know what it would be, but I was just going to create some content. As things tend to happen, I had people reach out to me, companies reach out to me and say, hey, I'll just make something up, a new VP of sales. I want to change our sales process. I want to change all our dashboards, and I don't like the way the previous vice president has things set up. Can you change it for me? Sure. So I would start an engagement and basically moonlight and do some side consulting. And that kind of was exciting. I don't know more. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just thought it was exciting. And, creating a proposal as a template and having to write that at your kitchen table and trying to figure out, how to bill somebody and,
Sure.
How to process payment and, do I need to have a business checking account? It starts all those questions. But that first kind of half year, and I'll kind of give you some rough numbers of how things started taking off. So this is just me, solo entrepreneur, and I wasn't even focusing on it too seriously. I just had a couple of clients that found me. So within that first 6 months, from June to the end of the year, maybe $12,000-$14,000 of additional cash
Sure.
in my pocket. That was pretty cool. And so I thought, well, I'll just keep feeding the beast. I will keep blogging and making content and see what happens. So 2011, the first full year of kind of side hustle moonlighting, that was the year I incorporated because I thought, okay, I probably should get this in place. And then it started to snowball to the point where I couldn't have a day job and deliver all the client work. So I found a couple of contractors to help me deliver the work that was coming in.
So they're finding you from the blog still?
Yes.
Okay.
Still
Right.
not. And
You're not doing any advertising or anything?
I'm not even a Salesforce partner at this point.
Right.
I'm just a solo consultant.
Sure.
So I think with the help of a couple of contractors, I want to say we did $80,000 or $90,000. Maybe that first, maybe it was 100, but it was starting to be a lot of work where
Right.
I'm putting in a lot of hours, evenings and weekends, trying to get work done. And of course, I'm also I'm starting to get towards the back half of that year going, this might be a business.
Right.
This might be something I'm getting, pretty excited about.
Is it hard to focus at work at this point too?
It did from just a physical exhaustion
Right.
standpoint, because I was waking up early, trying to get a couple hours in, do my day job, and then I would have client meetings in my car on the cell phone during my lunch hour. And I'd like to thank the Marriott Hotel for my success because this is before I'm bootstrapping, right? So I don't have Wi-Fi and portable internet. This is before Regis and WeWork and, co-working spaces. And so I would literally, in my car, go to the Marriott Hotel, park in their parking lot, keep the AC on in my car in the Texas heat, hope my AC would keep up, and I'd steal the Wi-Fi so I could run meetings on GoToMeeting from my car. And I'm sure the Marriott Hotel would see me every day camped out in front of the Marriott Hotel stealing the Wi-Fi. So I'd run meetings, and then I'd get a bunch of requirements, and I'd configure. And I remember taking vacation days to go deliver end-user training because I had to be out of the office for a day or a half day to train users on these projects. So I'd have to burn my vacation days from my day job so I could go actually deliver training.
Sure.
So it was kind of getting like Batman, like I have a secret life on the side. And I was working a lot. Then, so 2010, half year, 2011, full year, incorporated. 2012 rolls around. I believe it was May 2012, I got fired from my day job. So
that's twice now.
That's twice.
Okay.
I'm probably a bad employee at this point. I probably am. But it's one of those things where it was terrifying because in May of 2012, my wife had just stopped working. My kid just got accepted to a private school. We had a mortgage, credit card debt, and we needed health insurance.
Right.
And the direct deposit just stopped.
Right.
That is terrifying. So I literally put a Post-it note above my computer on the wall that said 5/1/2012, the word go, ! And double underline. And I would look at that every day and say, you cannot take a day off. You have got to just hammer it or your household is going to fail. Right? You're going to implode.
Right.
So you get this terrifying aspect of it.
How many clients do you have right now at this point? So you lose your job, your real job, but you've hustled on the side. So you do have something, right?
I probably have a dozen clients.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the good news is I don't know if I would have had the strength to make the jump and make the call and quit. Right? Because there's that safety net of that direct deposit.
Right.
Right.
But
I was literally pretty damn exhausted, at work. I would literally put my kid to bed, work till I couldn't work anymore, and then get up early and just start this. And it was it's kind of like crack because you're just so excited about it, but you're really hammering it. Of course, now that you don't have the direct deposit, the intensity goes up because every dollar of work that I can deliver myself, there's no payroll, there's no overhead.
Right.
So let's say that I'm consulting at 150 to 200 an hour. Every hour that I can work and bill a client goes straight to the mortgage at that point. So there was about 3 years where my family didn't see me a whole lot. Right. I mean, I was just killing myself just to try to just get a critical mass. And so we went. Give you an idea, we went from in 2012. I think the previous year in 2011, we were close to 100,000. By the end of the year of 2012, having been fired in May, we were doing about 400 plus in revenue.
Are you doing advertising? How are you getting clients at this point?
I'm wearing every hat in the organization. So I am working on the website, still pump content, right, as fast as I can. If I would. There's a Salesforce community, so there's user groups, Salesforce user groups, and you can't go in there and just be, hey, let me advertise. You've got to add value, and then people realize, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, and then let people approach you. You don't want to be that guy in a user group hustling a business.
Sure.
You want to kind of let them come to you, but then try to close it, and use that lead. Only for a year or two that I did that, and before I started kind of figuring out how to scale. But you're doing the marketing, you're doing the invoicing, you're doing payroll, you're delivering work, all the back office stuff, contracts, proposals. I was doing it all, right? I had only a couple of contractors. I don't think I had a full employee till maybe the next year. Okay.
So there's not a lot of overhead at this point, right?
No, completely bootstrapped, working from home.
Sure. You don't have an office?
No, and we're still 100% virtual today.
Right.
But, so it was probably fortuitous pre-COVID not to have signed a lease on anything at this point.
But you don't have to take out a loan, anything to start this?
No. Initially it was running on cash flow.
Okay.
And I will say that even though I was working for that finance company that fired me, one nugget that I did learn from him is run your business on cash. Right. So if you don't have to borrow money, then it's the best way to run a business. Right.
Sure.
So that would be one of my nuggets of advice. So at that point, I started realizing that there's Salesforce account executives that are selling Salesforce that need partners. And so it was probably 2011 or into 2011 or maybe 2012. I actually applied to be a partner, got the logo, was able to put that on the website.
Okay.
That does not mean business is going to come to you. It does not mean that Salesforce is somehow obligated to start sending you clients. You've got to go engage Salesforce, find out who the account executives are, get on their radar. And so what I would do is if I had organically found a lead of a Salesforce customer, you can look in their org and find out who their account executive, and I would reach out to them and say, hey, just want to let you know I'm in your backyard. I'm helping your client be successful on the software. If you need to know if I can help you with other clients, let me know, but I'm going to make sure I take care of your client.
Right.
To make sure that they renew the licenses,
Sure.
right? Because that's the biggest indicator of success as a partner is, are they going to renew?
Right.
They don't want to attrit, as they say, and do attrition and then leave Salesforce for another solution. So as long as you can make their clients successful and they can go wider and deeper in that in terms of a license standpoint, you're making friends at Salesforce.
Right.
And so it's really starting to figure out, how do I work with Salesforce? How do I work with account executives? And then as the years went by, a lot of my role was then meeting with Salesforce. I remember the first time I made a buddy at the San Francisco office at 50 Fremont, where all the salespeople are, or were. Now there's the tower. But he said, you want to meet our team? You want to come to San Francisco? And I'll introduce you to the other group. And, you're doing a great job with my clients. And so I got invited to the mothership. And so I got into the building.
Right.
And, trying to figure out how to pitch the company to Salesforce is a lot different but that's what I ended up doing. And then over the years, do more and more of that. And then over, let's say pre-COVID, a lot of my job, I'm kind of fast forwarding, a lot of my job is not delivering project work, but pre-COVID, I would be traveling all over the U.S. to the Salesforce offices pitching Shellblack to Salesforce.
Right, because they help you get in front of clients.
Yep.
Right?
So it's the New York, Boston, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Irvine, San Francisco office. I would literally be on tour, just constantly pitching to make sure I'm staying in front of those account executives because they're feeding me so much business.
How'd you get in touch with the right people to get to those places in the first place?
It is, again, kind of getting a toehold, getting in the door with a team of account executives at one of the offices, and then a lot of those people will move to other groups, and then hey, we use Shellblack for that type of work, and you can follow them, or if you're doing good work and helping them sell, co-sell is what they really want you to do. They want you to co-sell software. Then you start getting on different people's radars and who are you using, and partners come and go, and so people want to know who the good partners are. And so it was very organic, kind of grassroots, and then trying to figure out how to stay in front of those account executives. There's high turnover at at Salesforce, so somewhere between 25 and 30% of the account executives turn every year.
Oh wow,
it's high, right? And so you're building this database, this network of these account executives, and we kind of made a pivot in 2015, roughly. We had a pretty good book of business, and I could see the writing was on the wall that Salesforce, as I kind of alluded to earlier, that Salesforce was getting a little bit more serious about verticals. And as Salesforce kept gobbling up all these companies and putting them into the suite, it was obvious that it was going to be really hard to be everything to everybody, right? So there was CPQ, which stands for Configure Price Quote, which is really for manufacturing. Field Service Lightning, which is for folks that have service organizations. So maybe you've got plumbers and you've got vans going everywhere and you're trying to track that in Salesforce. Government, higher ed, nonprofit, healthcare, financial services. Salesforce was going deep in these verticals, and it was hard to be everything to everybody because you can't have two people that knows MuleSoft, two people that know Tableau, two people, and then try to keep them all busy, right? Just from a staffing resource standpoint, it was just really hard. So I basically said, we're going to pick a vertical. And it's kind of scared the team. They're like, well, we kind of do a little bit of this and we kind of do a little bit of that. And we had some kind of marquee clients that we've been working with. And when we looked at our book of business, we have some density in financial services for whatever reason, maybe because I work for a finance company. And I said, we need to be a specialist, not a generalist. We're going to get lost in the sea of 2,000 partners if we don't specialize. We need to be good at something and not just trying to be okay at everything else.
Is this something you just realized, or what inspired you to think that?
I could see Salesforce starting to roll out these industry solutions, and with all these acquisitions, and I was trying to look at my team and say, okay, maybe we're a 20-person firm by 2015. I'm guessing that's probably pretty close. I couldn't have someone on the bench that knew one product, and then it was hard to sell that because, like, if you've never sold, let's say MuleSoft, which is a big kind of cloud-based connector for big high-end databases, how do you scope it? How do you price it? It kind of gets out of your wheelhouse. And so I said, let's be good at something. So we said we're going to focus on financial services. That brings the universe of Salesforce account executives that you're chasing down to a smaller team.
Right.
And then shortly after that, Salesforce launched Financial Services Cloud. We call it FSC, Financial Services Cloud. And we were one of the first partners that got up to speed on it. And
so it worked, the strategy.
Oh, yeah, it works. Yeah. And so there's a snowball that happens there, because if you're just doing financial services, I'll say it differently. So if Salesforce calls me and says, hey, do you do fractional jet ownership? I'm like, no. Hey, do you do pest control? No. Do you do deep sea oil exploration? No. It's hard to say yes to all these different businesses, right? Because they don't want to put you in front of a client if you don't know what they do.
Right.
So we had some critical mass with financial services clients. And so once we said this is what we do, those are the leads we were getting, because we were representing that was what we were good at. And so, today we've worked with over 300 wealth management firms, right?
Oh, wow.
Now you've got referrals and use cases, and the lingo, and you really know their business. And we do other verticals. We have 4 verticals today. We have wealth management, which is our biggest, insurance and benefits, mortgage and lending, and wealth, insurance and benefits, mortgage and lending, and banks and credit unions.
Okay.
And then there's a smattering of alternative lending products, fintech, factoring companies. There's a smattering of all sorts of other crazy tax, credit. But once you start doing that, then you have a portfolio, you have use cases, you have referrals, and it just snowballs. So, if you're a wealth manager or if you're a bank, they know each other, right? They know, and they can go check on you. But then you can have, and then that just are better stories you can tell Salesforce, and that gives confidence to Salesforce to give you more business. So today we work with about 330 account executives that just do financial services in those cities that I mentioned, and that have 4 directors of sales that are working those different offices.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's their whole job, is really and we still get our organic business and our leads and our referrals and repeat business and stuff like that. But 70-80% comes from Salesforce and the mothership, because as they're signing on new clients, they've got to find a partner to implement that.
Right,
so that's the quick story of what we did.
So when did you get your first full-time employee then, in this whole process?
It was probably 2012, late 2012. Still had a lot of contractors just for the staffing flexibility. And then I would say we were probably 25 people by 2016 maybe, full-time and part-time. Now our total headcount is just over 60.
Okay.
So
because I think when you first told me you were doing this, you're still all contractors. And then so how did hiring your first employee make you feel? Like, did it say this is the starting point of a real company, or you're not just a consultancy, you're actual real business?
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's a little bit of self-awareness that you can't do everything. You've got to start trusting people, right? And you've got to find an employee that you can say, I'm going to ramp you on what I do and how I do it, but I trust you to either do sales or do delivery or do marketing. But as you grow, you really start having to hand stuff off, right? I can't be the only salesperson. I can't be the only delivery person. I can't be the only person working on marketing anymore. I just don't have that much counter capacity. And that's how I got my first salesperson. I literally could not take another call with Salesforce. My calendar I was just booked on sales calls. I had handed off delivery after a couple of years and focused on sales to try to drive revenue. And then I was the salesperson and the solution engineer, and I was writing all the proposals. And then you just look at your Google calendar, like, okay, I am at capacity. I cannot sell another deal.
Right.
And then you'd be on a call with a client, doing a proposal review or something like that, and you can see your phone lighting up with Salesforce. And if you don't pick up, they're calling the next partner.
Sure.
And so at that point, like, okay, I am revenue constrained. I need to hire a salesperson. And then that just keeps kind of going. And you just make those decisions that, okay, I've got to feel confident enough to let go.
Right, right. So how many employees do you have right now then?
Like I said, total headcount's about 60.
60.
We still have some contractors because projects do ebb and flow. There's a little bit of seasonality. We have a real strong Q1, a real strong Q4, and there's a little bit of a lull, not a lull, but there's some seasonality in the summer. So you want to be able to, the way we make money is we've got to keep people utilized, right? We cannot have people in bench. So I have this a little bit of a relief valve for some specialty contractors or a specialty product contractor, but we're trying to weigh it more on full-time employees at this point.
Right. So in the beginning, you're writing content, you're doing everything. So what's your typical day like right now? So you've matured a little bit, the company, you have employees.
Yep. So different days are kind of different focus. So today was Tuesday. We have an hour and a half marketing review. We're looking at everything that we have kind of in flight. We just did some recruiting marketing. We have a trade show that we're attending in May. So we just pulled the trigger on a new booth for that to do some lead gen. So I've got check-ins with my direct reports during the week. Sales is usually on Wednesdays. I lead the sales call. We have a leadership meeting over our core leadership team on Monday. So I've kind of got it like leadership team, marketing, sales, and then usually by Friday I kind of keep that open so I can get caught up on stuff I didn't get to during the week. Right. But I still am the main person that interfaces with our legal counsel. So going through contract red lines and stuff like that. The team's pretty busy. I mean, we're cranking out a proposal a day. So it's just there's a constant inbox that you're managing. So yeah, it's that's kind of like my day in the week. Still a lot of one-on-ones with my direct reports, and some days I'm really more deep diving certain areas of the business. Are you doing any more content writing or no? Any coding? Any of the no. I have not delivered a project in 5 years. Okay. I'm probably the last person now because that you want. Delivering a Salesforce project. Sure. I have folks that are so much better at it than I am. And I've gone cold. Right. I still do a lot of the work in our own Salesforce org, so I'll change some things as needed. But people are trying to pull things away from me so I don't mess stuff up. Sure. But I'm not we've got different tools today, and I'm not the administrator of a lot of our tools, like Asana we use for project management. We have Slack, so we can talk to Salesforce on back channels and stuff like that. A lot of those I'm not the administrator anymore, so I don't have to be the guy that knows everything about it. So which is kind of nice. Oh, well, that's good. I mean, you've gone a different direction, obviously, but you're more of a manager now. Yeah, it took probably till year 6 or 7 before I felt like, as people tend to say, work on the business, not in the business. Right. And I finally hired an operations manager. So till just a couple years ago, I was still running all the payroll for the company. I was doing all the invoicing, and I still do a lot of the money, right, on accounts receivable and stuff like that. But was it hard to let go? It's easier over time. Okay. I would say the first 3-4 years I was probably a control freak. Okay. Because it's your baby. Sure. Right. You have put so much blood, sweat, and tears. For me, I was a control freak. Right. And it was really making sure once you were confident you had the right person on the bus, and you could trust them. Today, I was asked. I guess it was just Monday. I had someone kind of asking me, what's my role? I feel like my role now is just to provide the direction and set the goals for the company, and then just give the team the latitude and support they need to do it. Like, if you've got the right people, I shouldn't have to tell them how to do it. I should just tell them the problem, where we want to go, and let the team tell me how to get there. Right. Does that make sense? Yep. And that's a big trust thing, right? But I'm trying not to make everybody look at me like I have all the answers. Like, no, you're smart people, and I trust you, and that's why we hired you, right? To help us. Like I hired someone to be a director of our really kind of our project management group to make sure that we had the right standards and consistent project management practices. I was a project manager, but I haven't done that in years. And to hire someone who really has those skills to look at how we're running projects across our organization, said, if everything's fine, we don't have to change it. But if you see areas of improvement or inconsistency, consistency mitigates risk. Right. So I hired her specifically to tell me the hard facts of what it looks like. I need a fresh eyes on how we're running our projects and making sure we're just not, inbred and we just did that because that's the way Shell ran a project 10 years ago. I want to make sure that we're best of class and we're doing it right.
So where do you see yourself then 6 months, year, 5 years later with all that happening? Because you're getting to a point where you're not just hiring people to do projects. You're hiring a second layer, right? So
Yep. So I have, the second layer, a full-time marketing person. I just added a second resource for recruiting in HR and help us figure out what our culture should be and our DNA. And I feel like we're at this inflection point of we've got critical mass, but how do we make ourselves an employer of choice? How do we stand out in the sea of 2,000 partners when someone's looking for a job?
Sure.
And we talked about this a little bit prior to the podcast to make sure that, and we should. I mean, you've got the big boys that are in the Salesforce game. You've got the Accentures, Deloitte, PwC, IBM, Wipro, the folks that do the seven-figure projects, and then there's everybody else, right? So you may not have the name sexiness of a Deloitte or Accenture, but compared to all the other partners that are doing what we're doing, how do we make sure we're getting the right folks on the bus and we're not going to screw up our DNA and we don't get any bad eggs? And how do we market and attract the type of culture and the type of people to work for us? Now we've got some tools for screening. We use Culture Index, which I'm a member of EEO for many years, and that was a tool that I picked up to just make sure you can kind of understand what personality is a fit. So if you look at your consultants are kind of this personality, your project managers are this kind of personality, your salespeople are on another planet kind of personality. Sure. Very social, pet the puppy. But, making sure you're getting the right people in the right role. I think one thing that's really become in the forefront of my mind, especially the last 2 years in COVID and the Great Resignation, is how important the right people are to your success.
Right.
I mean, the right people combined with the right culture is rocket fuel.
Is that your biggest challenge right now?
That is our biggest challenge. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but Salesforce is a machine. I don't know what, if you go to, and I found this out through Salesforce Account Executive the other day, that if you go look, I think there's 1,800 sales positions open right now at Salesforce. 1,800.
Wow.
They grow. So you just look at their CRM, it's their stock ticker. They're growing, I think, something like 20% a year over year.
How's that? Wow.
Well, a lot of that is their core product, and a lot of that is revenue they've piled on by acquiring.
Right.
You take the revenue of Slack and you stack that onto what Salesforce is doing.
Okay.
MuleSoft and so on, Tableau. So a lot of it's revenue by acquisition. The problem is the ecosystem of talent. There's now a vacuum. Salesforce is growing faster than people that know the product.
Right.
And so, pre-COVID, we never advertised for talent at all. We either knew somebody or we always had some applications coming in, and it was the year COVID hit, I think we turned over 4 people and we hired 4 people. And I was real conservative when COVID hit. I was like, people were saying there's a second wave, and I'm thinking the shoe's going to drop, and I didn't want to overstaff and then have to lay somebody off. That was my biggest fear, is we've never laid anybody off, right? Ever in 12 years. And that was just, let's go skinny. Let's go lean, and let's see what's going on with COVID. And so last year, so 2021, we started seeing turnover for the first time in our organization, and the Great Resignation. And what I found out is the talent pool, the light bulb that went off, is we just can't keep up with Salesforce's growth. And so Salesforce is just oversold. They're selling software everywhere, but there's not enough consultants to deliver it and set it up for companies.
Right.
And so all the partners are just in this crazy poaching each other and other mode. So I went from spending nothing on recruiting and talent and just let it organically come in the door to the point where we're selling faster than we can deliver work, and we really need people. And so then I got a full-time recruiter. I went from having no presence on LinkedIn to spending $30,000 a year on LinkedIn.
Wow.
We just added a second resource on recruiting this year. We just spent 2 days creating content through a video shoot and a photo shoot to help have more assets to help us explain people what we're about as an organization and our culture, right?
Wow. And you see this across the board with all the other companies, right?
Yep. I've got a lot of frenemies.
Uh-huh.
A lot of folks that are also owners of Salesforce practices.
Mm-hmm.
Some really, really lifelong good friends that I've met through the community. I've got there's a woman who runs a practice in Houston. There's a guy that runs a practice in New York, and then I have another friend that runs a practice in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And we get on a Google Hangout, once a month, and it's just kind of like therapy. I get on the couch and I talk about my business, and I'm just trying to benchmark. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing that? And then with Salesforce, we have what's called a partner account manager who manages me as a partner and the relationship with Salesforce. And I kind of pick her brain to see, okay, are other people having problems in finding talent? And then Salesforce has done a lot of initiatives to help try to attract job switchers, right? Talent Stacker, and they've really encouraged partners to try to make the investment and train people up, skill them up on Salesforce. Trailhead, so if you go to Trailhead from Salesforce's website, is a free academy of 500, if not 1,000 courses now on different aspects of Salesforce, and they give it away for free. They don't charge for that. It's just, you just get a free account, you get a developer account, and you get these playgrounds where you can build out little things in Salesforce, and they're literally giving away. They're trying to get colleges and universities to get it into their curriculum because they cannot get enough people up to speed on this product.
Wow.
So it's Salesforce is well aware of this problem, and so it's so for us, again, I look at kind of you get below the big boys, mm-hmm. right? The Accentures, Deloittes, PwCs, IBMs of the world. And you got these other couple thousand partners in the United States. My job right now is to make sure that we can build the best culture and environment that will attract the best talent. Because if you can attract and retain the best talent in the marketplace, you're going to win. Right. So again, last 2 years, really just overdosing on podcasts about the problems going on, with COVID and the Great Resignation. And I mean, I've just more convinced than ever that people are the solution.
Right. So having gone through all this now, it's 10 years now almost, right? What's your advice for folks who want to start a company, take that next step? It's not a side hustle anymore. It's a real business. Like, any advice and tips?
I can only speak from my experiences, okay. Right? The more you can run on cash, the better.
Okay.
Right. I'm a solo owner, right? I'm 100% owner. There's no outside capital. There's not a silent partner. I didn't take investment from Salesforce or anything like that. So I'm 100%. And one of my old mentors told me, the best partner is no partner. Mm-hmm. It depends. Like my friend in New York who runs a practice, he's got a partner, and they rock and roll. I mean, they are just on the same page, and it's wonderful. Some people it doesn't work. Right. So you got to really think about, do you want to give away equity? Do you want to lose control? If you take outside money and you take investment, my big fear is I didn't want to spend half my day explaining what I do to my investors. Right. I want to be able to focus on the business and make the call, make the decision. I will stub my toe, and I will make some mistakes. And, part of the DNA we want to have at Shell Black is just learn. Okay, last year with COVID, we learned a lot. Now let's take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. We learned. We tried a bunch of stuff. A lot of stuff didn't work. It was just a lot of money wasted, a lot of energy. But we tried something, right? You tried something, and we learned this works and this doesn't work. Do more of this. Right. It's kind of like A/B testing, right? In marketing, you never know for your audience and your business. Just try it. So running cash for me, it was no partner. I also kind of heard, like, when you're building a business, you got to think about, what do you want to do from an exit, right? Mm-hmm. You can have a pig or a cow. Have you heard this story?
Mm-mm. Go ahead. Yeah.
So there's two ways of looking at your business. So you could raise a cow, which gives you milk and you can live off of year after year and produces for you. So it's kind of a lifestyle business, right? So I'm going to build this business up. It's going to fund my retirement. I'm going to pull an income off of it, and it feeds me, right? And it's a lifestyle business, and I can just run that as long as I want. You could also look at your business as a pig, which means I'm going to fatten that little guy up, and I'm going to sell him at market and cash out.
Right.
Right. I'm going to sell it. Right. So the end game can be the same. Over the years of living off that cow, you can have the same amount as fattening up the pig to sell and have a transaction.
Right.
Right. So you got to think about is your business, am I in a lifestyle business, or I could grow much faster if I wanted to take on, merge with other companies and take on investment and stuff like that. I'm kind of a more slow and steady run on cash kind of guy and run within my wallet. And it's more of a lifestyle business for me at this point. I think never say never. It could be something later on, but I'm happy with double-digit growth. We're not like 50, 100, but we're steady growth. We've grown every year, COVID, not COVID. And that success satisfies me.
Right.
Right. So that's scratching that itch. And the business is at a point now where it's not nearly the stress and not nearly the anxiety that it was when I am going from bootstrap to critical mass.
Right.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah. So
it seems
it's
like
a little bit different for everybody. It's like you also can only talk about your own personal experiences. Like, what's the right way to run a business? Well, every business is kind of a snowflake.
Well, it seems like you're saying know who you are, and then stay ahead of the game and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Other thing I would say, and I don't mind sharing this because I think it's important for other entrepreneurs to think about this, is watch your health.
Right.
So it is real easy to work too much. And I'll tell you a couple of stories to just make this real, right? And so again, I think I share this only because I want to make sure other entrepreneurs don't fall into these traps. So I don't know how long ago, I'll say it was 5 years ago, and it was still pretty intense, right? Started drinking too much, right? So long days, and I got into a ritual of coming downstairs from my home office and pouring a cocktail. Well, you do that for long enough, and you don't watch your health, and I gained like 20 pounds. And so at one point, my financial planner was like, it'd be a good idea if you got some more life insurance, what was going on. So I was like, okay, sure. I was failing my medicals because I was drinking too much and I was overweight, and I could not find a single insurer to underwrite me because I let my health get that bad.
Oh, wow.
Right. So
How
that was
long
a bit
was
of
this?
That was about 5 years ago.
Okay. All right.
So that was a bit of a wake up call, right? That's where you kind of look at it and go, okay, I have really just ground myself up into the ground. So then, got my weight down, started exercising, trying to turn that around. So next kind of health scare, again, kind of true story. I usually don't tell my employees this because it'll probably freak them out. But it was January, right before COVID hit. I was in New York sponsoring a Salesforce event for some Salesforce account executives, basically throwing money at Salesforce. And my heart felt a little funny. And I was there with one of my directors of sales, and I said, Brendan, take care of the tab. I got to go. I'm not feeling well. And I was literally looked up the nearest hospital, called an Uber, jumped in an Uber, went to a hospital in Manhattan. And I walked in there, they took my vitals, and the guy looked at me, and he goes, and you can walk into a hospital in New York in the waiting room, in the emergency room, or you go in there, the walk-in, and there's like 40 people there. Yeah. With all sorts of ailments and stuff. I went right back. So put me in a wheelchair, took me right back. Doors open. The nurse says, "Is this our code red?" I was like, okay, that's not good. Yeah. This cannot be good. And so you're the number one priority in the ER. But I was having a cardiac event. So my heart rate was 245. I was in arrhythmia. So they have to break the arrhythmia because which an arrhythmia, I'm not a doctor, but your heart's in a kind of a feedback loop. And so I was going off the charts. And so they have to break the arrhythmia. Otherwise, you're going to go into a heart attack or you're going to stroke out.
Wow.
Your blood's going to pool in your heart. So, literally the stickers on your chest, the paddles are between my legs, and they hit me this medicine called adenosine, I think. And, I literally have a team of people working on me, and there's like a lady doctor who's like quarterbacking the team on me, and she comes over and she's like, okay, we're going to give you this med, and it's going to feel really weird. And that's normal, but it's going to feel really weird. So they gave me this shot of adenosine and didn't really do anything, and then they doubled the dose and hit me with it again. And the feeling is kind of like you're at the top of a roller coaster and you're about to drop. And it started at the top of my head and was just kind of like this slow wave. And what that medicine does is it chemically, not electrically, resets your heart.
Right. Wow.
And that broke the arrhythmia. And so I spent 2 days in Lagoni, I guess is how you say it, hospital in New York, and then flew back. And they got me set up. So I got back to see my cardiologist back in Dallas. And I've had an arrhythmia before. And so we thought we'd have to do an ablation, which is kind of, I won't get into that process. So I went to a procedure thinking that I was going to have an ablation. They were going to fix me. Come out from the anesthesia, and so doctor, what happened? It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to, there's no reason to do ablation. We couldn't short circuit you. It says you had a stress induced cardiac event. You got to change your lifestyle.
But you didn't know what was happening.
No,
Wow.
but basically, so now I've got some heart medication to keep my heart rate down. But basically, the short answer to the story was too much stress.
Right.
There's nothing physically wrong with me. It was the stress that set off the cardiac event. So my words of wisdom is to all the entrepreneurs to just watch your health, because it will creep up on you. So be careful.
Okay. Well, I think that's a great stopping point. Shell, I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
And I knew you when you first told me about this. So I got to say, I couldn't be prouder of you.
Thanks.
I think it's awesome what you did. Basically, you started something from nothing.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Maybe we'll hit you up in a couple of years and see what you're doing as you take over the world.
Thanks, David.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Shell.